Okay.
I'm
This is
super
the
excited to see it.
third episode. Yeah. With Brian Sowards. And Brian, you have done some really cool things. We're going to talk about it. One of the biggest things, though, is you helped a team, at least that we were chatting about, a team of 3 open 100 million in channel source pipeline, which when I read, I was like, this is either a typo or proof that everything we've chatted about in the past is accurate and spot on with AI and lane teams. And I'm hoping it's the latter. Am I reading that right? 100 million?
You're reading it right.
Okay. Then I'm excited to chat today. Before we even start, though, I wanted to give you the chance, 60 seconds, open pitch. This is not the time to be humble. Just flex away on us.
All right. Well, my dream is to be the go-to-market engineer to really brilliant rising stars within organizations. And I'm really fortunate to have a few amazing friends I do that for. Basically, the idea is if you're taking on a new area within growth, it's chaos right now across the full stack. And everybody is working really hard to keep things moving forward, get context, figure out what's going on, set the direction, make it happen. It's just leadership has never been as chaotic and challenging as it is today. And I get to be your personal AI engineer behind you, taking initiatives and making them happen, but making them happen with loops and skills and harnesses and all the really cool stuff that OpenClaw and those other types of tools are based around. And the beauty of that is that when you solve problems agentically, it becomes, my goal is to make you your secret weapon for how you build an agentic go-to-market organization.
Really like that. Make you your secret weapon. I really like that a lot.
Yeah.
We have chatted a bunch in the past about GTM engineering. You've now been putting this into practice, though. One of the ones was with Aviatrix. If I'm reading this right, it was an 80% reduction in marketing effort while delivering 10 million in net new pipeline. We're going to talk about the 10x version of the 100 million pipeline in a second. But Aviatrix, walk me through what their GTM looked like before you touched it, and then what you came in as a GTM engineer and did to it.
I think, I'm really grateful to Aviatrix because they bet on us really early. I mean, this is like a month after GPT 3.5 came out, right? And everyone realized that AI workflows and automations was a thing, and they decided to be at the forefront of it. But this was a pure 0 to 1 effort. There was nothing agentic in the organization before we came in. And I think there's 2 things about them as a early client. And they, great to have a case study with them on Forbes and so on about the impact that we had. But there were 2 things about them that I think turned out to be prophetic. One, early on, everyone looked at AI as a way of getting low-level tasks knocked off the list. I don't know about you, but I don't know anyone in marketing whose biggest problem right now is how do I publish 50 blogs I've already written?
Yeah.
There are no low-level tasks. The power of AI is leveling up the quality of what you do and the speed at which you do it. And Aviatrix is really where we got to test that theory. And the reason is, and this is the corollary, which I really love, is back then everybody was looking for really simplistic business use cases. Aviatrix is multi-cloud orchestration in the cybersecurity space. It is the definition of a very complex sale. And any organization that's going to install it is going to have multiple departments, multiple leaders involved. Their top customers are the Global 2000. There are names that you hear every day that run and rely on their security infrastructure. And that means that the sale process had sort of like multiple heroes. Sure, you've got your senior account executive, the guys who've been doing it for 20 years and know how to talk with the C-suite and the leadership level of, various departments intelligently and create that business value case and that stakeholder alignment that's needed to make that happen. Then you've got your SAs, SCs. These are the, pretty technical, but still sales aligned, almost like your customer success before the customer signs up type team members. And anyone who's in SASE, which by the way, I used to be at LinkedIn, love that role. It's still one of my favorite seats in the organization because you have access to all of the problems in one lens. But man, it was crazy technical. And then you have your engineers, essentially your forward deployed engineers. And those resources are incredibly valuable and their time has to be protected. And this is a security product. So they're all living with a virtual pager on their ass. Like they, every new client is just one more reason they might not make their kids' soccer games.
Oh, that's a depressing way to look at it.
What I mean?
Oh man.
It's
Yeah.
true, right? So, if you structure the deal wrong, if you set the expectations wrong, the engineers are going to have an opinion about it because it directly affects their life. And marketing is in here with 3 essentially completely different lenses and motions in the sales organization and going, okay, how do we help? How do we drive this forward? And I mean, you know this really well. Copy AI was one of the groups that we brought in. So OG Copy AI client right there. Your team was transformational for us actually in bringing AI workflows to the game. And the nice thing about the early days of AI transformation is, wow, there was just a lot of low-hanging fruit. And in marketing's case, it was taking very technical documentations that engineers wrote for support issues and turning that into content, because those issues were the reasons why someone would buy. And it just it was just so powerful. I mean, they essentially began to ship really high performing content very quickly. We were able to then pair that with a organized LinkedIn effort. It's amazing. I've been doing LinkedIn automation for 15 years now. And the rules of the game haven't changed at all. If you're going to reach out to people, do it to build a relationship. If you're going to connect with them and put text in front of them, make it something that contributes to their network or their knowledge, as a gift of some kind. There's so many basics that still matter even in this. I mean, got to hand it to the LinkedIn team. They have fought off the AI bots hard over the last 5 years. They've worked very hard to preserve some integrity in that, whole sort of DM social network infrastructure that they've built. And we just showed the sales team how to use it properly. And we took out the, 15 clicks it takes to do a thing and put that energy into how they would behave if they were with that person at a conference event.
Oh, that's a good look at it.
And we overlaid that with a partner roadshow motion and a client roadshow motion with AWS reInvent, and they opened 10 million in pipeline in 1 month. So, look, I love you salespeople and marketing people, but we all know what the real challenge is. Get organized. That's what the challenge is. Everyone who's been doing this business, especially if you participate in the SaaS apocalypse, you know what you're doing. You know what works. You know that going and meeting people and spending some time and having a roundtable and doing a dinner and building relationships, all this stuff works, and it's a nightmare to organize. And unfortunately, I love my RevOps friends. I love my field marketing ops tech friends. I love all of my ops friends. I'm an ops nerd, but organizations really, really struggle to take what their people know works and make that how they do things. And that's actually why I think there's a huge gap right now that AI operations can address, because it's kind of a little bit of a Trojan horse. Yeah, we're bringing agentic operations into the organization, but also those agentic operations are based on stuff that, the people actually doing the job knows matters.
Yes. Well, and I imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, but this problem only gets harder the larger the company is, where it's almost like we were talking to somebody, not to bring up that David and Goliath tired metaphor, but at the same time, I was telling my brother, he's opened a coffee shop last year, and I said, you could move so much faster than Starbucks because you have no red tape. You've got a team of 8 people, and you can actually build and put stuff in and make your whole systems run on AI and a loyalty program and all this stuff. And at SaaS companies, there are startups where it's I work with an enterprise. I'm not allowed to say who those clients are, but work with a large enterprise, and they just
stuck on Copilot, man. We feel you.
this, we don't know what this region's doing, and so we can't get together.
Yeah.
And then you have these teams of like 25 people, and they're like, oh no, we just built up a process, we codified it with AI, and now that process is taken care of. We're good. Check, move on. And it's incredible. And so speaking of the smaller teams, let's talk about, I'm going to say this wrong. Moxie Power?
Moxie Power. So Moxie Power was a YC startup, unfortunately, did not make it to the promised land, but like one of the really world-changing ideas that I got to work on. Still an absolute huge fan of this. And they've gone on to have a second life, which is really cool. But what Moxie Power was doing is replacing diesel generators, mobile power, with batteries, smart batteries specifically. Cool. So if you go to Burning Man or Coachella, my friend runs their power systems at these events. She installed these systems and they're still using them today. And there's just so many benefits. Smart power distribution radically cuts down. I mean, we're talking like 40 to 60% reduction in fuel expenses. And when you're talking about large scale, in-person events of a military or non-military nature, the military applications is actually one of the largest, most people don't know this, but like the US military is by far the largest contributor to climate, climate issues amongst all entities, like they just burn so much fuel. And mobile electric power, especially as UAVs becomes more and more important, is incredibly valuable. So they're working on a really big problem. The issue is that there wasn't really, I think it's true of most great ideas. The idea is where you make a thing that's better and then you offer it to a person who needs it. That very linear go-to-market motion, that has been gobbled up. That is owned by somebody somewhere in every industry, in every product category. Almost all of the really interesting transformation happens in an environment where it's really not that linear, where partners, distributors, there's some sort of ecosystem play. And if you've been in the partner world, man, that is a slog, because you not only have to win the partner, you have to go get their sales teams to actually want to sell you. And then they actually have to be successful in selling you. And that was Moxie Power's challenge. They had won the relationships of the biggest distributors in their industry. They had won all the channels. But how do you activate it? How do you get in front of the people who, their boss's boss is really excited about Moxie Power. They've never even heard of it. They don't know why they would use it. And it kind of sounds like it's replacing the bread and butter they make money on every day. And it's a good old boy network, right? It's people went to high school together. They went to college together. It's a very old school kind of sales network approach where ultimately, like, the gravy train is there. And the key is that you've got a friend who sold you whatever equipment you got. Yeah. Because if you have a problem, you're calling that salesperson. You're not calling corporate, right? It's sort of that classic, my buddy's going to make sure I'm okay if something really needs to be addressed. And so I think that there's a lot of that left in the economy right now. I mean, there's so much buzz around AI going into, small businesses like recruiting or trucking or insurance. And these are all categories I've worked in. And I'd say that the most common thing that I see is that these are all relationship-driven businesses. The people who are actually successful, the people who are in the top 10% or above in terms of performance, a lot of them are like second or third generation business owners. They're not the first wave. So the relationships are huge. And then they discover Claude Code, they discover Codex, and nobody really has ever cared to make them software that works the way that their business works. Now they can do it for themselves. And they are. So to bring this back to, Moxie Power and 100 million in channel, pipeline that got opened, we basically just took, some really ambitious startup grade individuals, and we just agentically enabled them to communicate with the entire distribution network, but to do it in a way that set up relationship building. Hey, we're going to be at the same conference you're going to be at. Let's get together. hey, we just saw that you launched this new, this new service offering or this new piece. We think there's a story here where you could offer, this green alternative in the mix, because that was sort of their key story. Is didn't have to be full replacement. You could connect a smart battery to existing infra. So, these kinds of challenges, they don't go away. I'm on a little bit of a tear here, but I wanted to drop this on your podcast. Literally just hit me yesterday. So you've probably seen this. The number of apps that have been published to the App Store
Oh yeah,
per month has tripled
it's unreal.
in the last year, and it's just going like this.
Oh, it's
But
unreal.
the revenue hasn't moved at all,
Oh,
which
I believe.
basically means that there are thousands of apps being born a minute that don't ever make a dollar, right?
I make half of them. Yeah, I'm not making. Exactly. Just keep launching them. That's happening. No, it's true though. I heard.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say this. I heard of a really clever company that did something with Shopify apps, and what they did was they looked for categories with the lowest review possible for a problem that wasn't solved well enough yet, and they're doing very well in that way.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Run it.
Gartner, G2, Spotify. I mean, like, go to any marketplace and look at reviews, and you basically have open season. The interesting thing I found is that a lot of people feel like because there's a bunch of legacy SaaS out there, that all the industry problems are solved. And I can tell you, like, there has never been a company that I didn't drop Claude Code or Codex into who didn't 5x the amount of software that they wanted overnight. And all of it was stuff that they couldn't buy that was endemic to the value chain. Like, take the most important thing in the business, there isn't software for it. So I think that we are looking at a bifurcation in the software world of it's never been easier to create it, but also, like, you don't really need to buy it from someone anymore. You need to make it for yourself. And this brings us back to our much maligned and abused discipline. Because if there's any discipline that's been socked in the face for the last 5 years with AI, it's marketing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Always been first to fire, always been first to blame. Like, marketing has been the punching bag of GTM for a long time. And and it still is. But there's something really more fundamental to marketing than even the discipline as we know it today in technology, which is this: marketing is just getting people's attention. And it turns out that there is an extreme escalating pressure right now, because the attention of people who spend money continues to be, there's only so many more hours we can get people to spend on Instagram. So it's basically functionally finite.
Yeah.
And defaults win. So the whole concept of, like, brand and all these things they're still holding all this weight. But I really do see that when I look as my own experience as an AE and an SC, and then as a sales leader and a founder, and now building, marketers know this. And I think it's amazing. I think one of the great things that has happened pre-AI is marketing shifted in a very operations focused side. Now we got to be hybrid. We got to have both the aesthetic and, the amazing shirt that you're wearing and the style and all that good stuff. We got to be able to combine that with an operations mindset. And AI really does make that possible. My prediction is that by 2028, almost all design will be done by AI. And I think the design problem will be basically solved Fable just dropped. So we have Claude Fable, Mythos now. But I think design is the next frontier to fall. And marketers are in the premium position to make use of that. So my expectation is that go-to-market engineering is going to continue to not only be very relevant, but it's going to continue to be one of those things where making sense of what the organization does or doesn't know, that data problem that everybody's got when it comes to working with AI, solving those problems. Marketing is in such a unique cross-functional role to deliver operational methodologies that are delivering emotion that is designed to connect with real people
You know,
and be successful in building real relationships.
I always thought it was weird that, like you said, marketing's the first to fire, the first to get blamed, all these things. When at Copy, when we were kind of mapping out go-to-market functions, the center point that branched off to everything was marketing, because every customer communication, every prospect communication, every just organic piece of traffic that you would get had to go under the brand voice. It had to identify the audience and have the ICP really well defined. It had to understand not only what the product did, but the benefits of that product and the headaches that it took away. And all of those little nuggets of everything that GTM uses in every department, sales, customer success, anything, all originated in marketing. And I found it weird. I don't know if you felt this way. I feel like in 2023, so not that long ago, but 3 years ago, there were so many marketers that were the most anti-AI. Like, sales were just like, we just want to make money. Like, we'll use whatever tool we can. We'll just make more money. And marketers are like, no, don't take away the soul of everything. And now I see those same marketers like, buy my 15 prompts on X, Y, and Z. And it's like, they act like, they came late to the party, but they pretend like they were there to set up the chairs. And it's really been frustrating me lately on LinkedIn. So I feel like they were the last to adopt, but now they're in the best position because, like you said, they can really operationalize everything to make go-to-market go smoother and be the first to get the praise and to be the first to make the pipeline and to be all these different things. So that's my small podium box. I get so mad at that.
I think it's a fair podium box, and I want to call myself out on this one, right? Like, I built my first AI-powered chat app in 2014 using TensorFlow and Google NLP, right? So pre-Gen AI, and we still were able to do some pretty cool stuff. I mean, we're working with middle school students, so it's a tough audience, and we succeeded. We succeeded. We 80% increase in student engagement and performance with neurodivergent kids. So it was really fun.
Well, that's cool.
And it taught me a really important lesson that I think that now is a daily thing. It's almost hourly thing, which is, I don't care that I was early. It doesn't matter. The model power is dropping at such a step change, and the harness, that Claude Code, Claude Cowork, Codex, they really got to come up with a better name for it. But, Codex is really, the Codex desktop app is truly the everything app. Like, if you just want a computer or an assistant to just handle things for you, the Codex desktop app is amazing. And the power that's being added to it every couple of days now, let's just be real, is it's so useful. It's such a change mentally in how you think about your own value in life.
Yep.
There's such an existential element. You kind of got to get through an identity transformation. And all those things are relevant. So, I had friends who picked up Claude Code a few months ago and passed me.
Well, yeah,
because I was still trying to build RAG. I was still trying to build, systems to make sure the AI did the job right. And they were just YOLOing it and being like, hey, can you make this thing? And then it was. And we're all living in that, balance of like infrastructure, vibe coding, back and forth, and the game keeps changing. So I guess what I would say is, look, I mean, you and I called it, right? We're living in Hunger Games now in tech.
You called it. I love that expression. I'm not going to take any credit for that.
Fair enough.
You said that. That was great.
Fair enough. We're all living in Hunger Games. I honestly, I don't think organization size matters that much, because if you're in a huge organization, it's all tiny teams, right?
Yeah.
The whole headcount game has been changed, which I think is wonderful and not great for people's lives, but small teams get things done. And so that the fact that, we're designing around small teams is a good thing. But I've been shocked to see, companies selling agentic solutions in the go-to-market space, not dog food agents in terms of how they build their own operations. And that's been true of like seed and series A startups out of Y Combinator, as much as it's true of like the really big Global 2000 organizations that I work in. There's different challenges for sure. But when it comes to like, if you have the local context in your organization where you're allowed to use agents and you've been tasked with figuring something out, building some kind of a 0 to 1 thing, which exists everywhere now, then you're in the prime seat for learning and producing and career advancement.
Yeah, I do love that. And I want to touch, because we're coming up on time. We got about 5 minutes. I want to touch on 3 things that you said you're seeing everywhere. And this is just way off topic of anything that we chatted about in the questions that I prepped for this. So we're just going off because we chatted right before the show on 3 things that you're seeing everywhere. And dare I use the word scoffed, but you slightly scoffed at the term 996, not because it's a ridiculous concept, but because it's actually underestimating how much teams are actually working. And I wanted to chat with you just about what you're seeing right now in SaaS, in terms of culture, the discrepancies between leadership and the people in the trenches actually building these things. What were those 3 things that you're seeing?
So I think, and I think it's just really important to like dial up our empathy for a moment here, for ourselves and for each other. We certainly are all living a really great life to get to work in tech.
Yeah.
Like tech has been an amazing swimming pool for people. And it's feeling a lot less friendly right now. But I think the story that's not as often being told, and what I'm seeing, is this. Every head of VP director that I'm seeing, they are completely overwhelmed and they're working 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
So I think 996 is underselling it. I think people are terrified. They never have a sense that they've done enough. They don't know what enough is, and no one is willing to give them any feedback as to what enough is. No one really wants to be on the hook for saying, this is the bar, you made it. And so I do think that, a lot of people have mentioned this. I know it's been true for me. I work more now that I have AI agents than I didn't. So, there is a real factor here that, we're going through a transformation, and a transformation is not something you coast on. It's not something that fits into a nice schedule. It's not something you get done in your 9 Zoom meetings of the day. It's the things you do in the early morning and late at night and on the weekends, and everybody's doing it. And so this was what partly inspired me to launch Sowards AI and to be the behind the scenes AI engineer that helps these individuals, because they just can't keep up with it. And they're smart. These are people, I'm talking about people who can code. I'm talking about people who can use these tools and use them every day. They just can't keep up. So I think one is, everyone's just working so many hours. There's very much an always on global culture now. That Slack message is going to hit you literally at any point in the 24-hour cycle. And you got to figure out how to cope with that. That's one. I think the second, and this is, I think, the more profound thing. People have talked about this, and I think it's true. What if everyone in your company, including the C-suite, the board, the investors, the VP and directors, what if everyone is kind of at a loss right now for like, what is the context? What are we up to? What are we trying to accomplish? What's important right now? What direction should I be betting in terms of the direction of the organization? Because it's so chaotic that, and everyone's going to AI and asking, everyone's asking the AI to help them understand, like, what is my context? How should I be entering this? I've actually found the people who are completely and overtly self-interested to be the healthiest in this context. Like, does it advance my career? Does it help me, especially salespeople, right? Like, am I going to close a deal out of this? No, next. They actually have, some blinders on. They can give them clarity. But if you're in a cross-functional role, it is a confusing time to know what's mine, what's yours, what's important, what am I going to be measured on? And I don't think that clarity is coming. I think that people coming up with their own model of their context, the universe of their job and what they're up to, inventing it and being correct or at least successful is the future of work in tech. It's going to feel increasingly isolating. And that's what sort of brings me to the third piece, which is, I think it's just important to say this, like, you are enough. You're doing enough. You know, everyone is confused. Everyone is overloaded. Everyone is unsure. You know, we've all grown up, you know, especially the millennials, we've all grown up with the whole social media as the highlight reel of everyone's life. Well, now that's everything. Now everyone's trying to create or synthesize a highlight reel, as you pointed out, whatever the truth of it is, because, you know, it's a constant, you know, is how this looks going to matter? Is how I look out in the world going to matter? Are my results going to matter? I don't think there's a way of knowing the answer to that question. And so I think there's this sort of gestalt of just sort of existential dread. Like, I just don't, you know, everything is a bet right now. And I have no idea if any of them are winning bets. Or maybe I do, but my conviction, you know, leads me down a road, and then I get to the destination and it doesn't look anything like I thought it was going to look like when I got there, which has happened, I think, to all of us who've delivered results and then woke up to that not really mattering in terms of our personal career or influence within the organization, which almost everyone I've talked to has experienced at least once in the last 2 years. So, you know, I think it's important just to say, like, you know, I'm very fortunate that I get to have this lens into a lot of people's lives and work worlds. And I think the most important thing to say about AI is, and where we are with it is, yes, it's real. Everyone's trying to figure out how to survive. They're trying to figure out how to be relevant. They're trying to figure out how to have a job, you know, 2 quarters from now, 2 days from now. And there isn't an answer. There really isn't. And so I think that, you know, once you can come to terms with that, then it's all right. What's my toolkit? How am I going to approach life? How am I going to decide what I want? How am I going to decide what's worthwhile to me to go for? Where's the mountaintop that I'm going to chart towards, and why I believe it? And then, you know, the good news that I have for everybody is, you know, AI still has a lot of gaps in terms of, you know, transforming whole organizations. But man, the AI personal assistant is here. You can build an agentic approach to your work for you. And you can be very successful at that very quickly. And it stacks, you know, you get more powerful as you make that investment. So I do think there's an answer. I just don't think the answer is in our organization. I think it's in how we handle life ourselves.
Oh, that was half uplifting, half depressing, all scary, but really also good to take away. I like that very much. I mean, it's scary. I'll say it. It's scary.
Scary.
Like there's no answer, but it's also exciting because that means, you know, usually when it's scary because there's a lot of unknowns, that means there's a lot of opportunities that are unknown as well that tend to pop up when you're looking for them, which I think is really interesting.
Well, as a dad, you know what that means. It means it's time to go watch Frozen 2 and sing Into the
Now I'm in. Now I got a couple of kids. I'll bring them out of school right now to check that out. That's great. Oh, I love that. Okay, we are over time a little bit. However, give us a pitch one more time. Where can people find you? I will obviously leave your website in the show notes, but where can people find you on LinkedIn? Where can they find you on the internet? Sowards.ai. But tell me just about the website, your services, a 60-second wrap-up pitch.
60 second. You qualified that properly. I need that guidance. Yeah. So it's just like Towards, but with an S, SOWARDS.ai. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. And the pitch is, I want to help you build your personal Jarvis to make you a really successful leader. I want to encourage you that navigating the unknown and building your context and figuring it out is what you need AI for. I see a lot of people trying to figure it out first and then bring AI in. Hey, when you're buying a tool, that makes sense. When it comes to your own personal performance, start now. Start using AI agents and these tools right now, and I'm happy to help.
And one thing from your website I want to make clear, what I really loved is a lot of the solutions that you build, the person owns. It's not like you're
It's all
building
theirs.
that so you're not building it,
theirs.
you're in charge of the GitHub repos. You're building this, and it becomes like a proprietary AI tool that the person walks away owning.
Yeah, it's a personal proprietary AI tech stack.
That's really cool. Okay. And I haven't seen a lot of that out there right now because everyone's trying to make a buck on their own SaaS products. That's really cool. I love that.
I've accepted that you give the code away.
I love it. It's great. All right. Well, go get your your code from Brian. Thank you so much for chatting with me. I know, like I said, this is arguably episode 2, so I'm still a young buck trying to in terms of podcasting. So I appreciate you taking the time. I really do.
I think you're doing a great thing for the community, Nathan. You've been very early in this space. You have so much real world insight to offer about what it's like to actually do this stuff. And I'm so appreciative that you've given me a chance to tell my story.
Yeah, you're making a grown man blush. I'm going to edit this part out because I'm getting embarrassed. Thanks, Brian. There we go.